right, people. Welcome to the biggest takedown of your life. You had a killer selling spring in American government, and now, in order for us all to achieve CQ Press's 2019 goal of $11 million, in order for you to walk away with a big bonus at the end of the year, we need to pull out the big guns, aim for those individual choice adoptions, and take down the house. Just like in Ocean's 11, in order to pull this off, you need precision, you need planning, you need awesome Vegas sunglasses, and you need a crew of books and digital resources that are as crazy as you are. And here they are. Okay, so in order to make this work, first we need to call my partner in crime. Hang on one sec. Okay, Jen, are you ready for the biggest political science takedown in history?
Oh, I was born ready. First, we're going to kick this thing off by digging into a few of these killer books and digital resources and learning what it is that makes them the perfect fit for this operation. As we work through these course areas, you'll be entering some crucial details, also known as CRM targets, into your blueprint.
Oh, hey, Jen, check it out. I actually have like a real blueprint. Right? I mean, this thing is legit because like you don't do like a major takedown without a killer blueprint. So I am ready.
Exactly. By the time we're done with the NSM, you will walk away with your crew, your blueprint, and all of the tools and confidence that you'll need to pull off the biggest political science takedown of your life. Remember, save this blueprint on your desktop and bring it to the NSM in Ojai, where we'll be completing it in person.
Whoa. Oh my God. You know who just IM'd me? Scotty Greenan. Scotty Greenan.
The Scotty Greenan, the 2017 IR job? No way.
Yeah, totally. He just sent me like the, oh wait, I think he's joining us. Okay, be cool, be cool. Hey, Scotty, what's up, man?
Hey, so I heard about your fall IC job. I want a piece of the action.
Yeah.
But let me show you how it's done. Now, if we're going to pull this thing off, we need to start with our new first edition, An Intro to Political Science by Whitman Cobb.
So here's the deal. This next semester, selling CQ Press is going to be a lot like Ocean's 11, except for the casinos are Pearson, Norton, Cengage, McGraw-Hill, and OUP. And instead of a group of 11 big hitters on your team, you have 12. The take, $11 million. Your cut is a healthy sales bonus. Get ready for the Q4 heist of your life. So here they are, your team of 12. They come from everywhere. Intro to Political Science, Congress, Research Methods, American Government, U.S. Foreign Policy, Policy Analysis, the Middle East, and Intelligence. And each one is the best of the best. Let's dig into each one's specialties. At the end of each section, we'll ask you to pause and take a minute to complete the activity associated with that course area on the blueprint provided to you in Blackboard. So take a moment, open the blueprint file, and save it to your desktop. That way it'll be easy to pull back up when we're together in Ojai. After completing the Summer Academy as well as the in-person NSM session, that blueprint will be your action plan for the fall semester so you can go out there and complete the Q4 heist of your life. Let's kick things off with Introduction to Political Science. This isn't a new course area for you. We already have 2 offerings for this course, but both are pretty niche. Today, we're going to be introducing a new title for this course, which is going to be much more mainstream. Before we get to that, though, let's do a refresh on the course. Introduction to Political Science is generally one of the first, if not the first, political science course that's taken by a freshman or sophomore. As you know, most of the time, Introduction to American Government is that general education requirement that all freshmen have to take. But sometimes, Intro to Political Science can be that gen ed requirement instead. In fact, we're seeing that be the case more and more. Universities want students to come away from the introductory course learning more than just about American government. They want to give them a taste of all the different areas of political science and hopefully get them excited about the discipline and maybe even attract some majors. Currently, about 100,000 students take the Intro to Political Science course each year, and it's generally taught by an Americanist, or a professor who specializes in the American side of the list versus those who would teach IR or comparative. So what are students learning in this course? Well, there can be a lot of variety from course to course and book to book. But in general, Intro to Political Science courses try to answer broad questions like what is the history of political science? Why is our government structured the way that it is? Why are some societies plagued by war and violence while others are stable and peaceful? So this is not an American government course, although some of the same topics may be covered. Intro to Political Science looks at the material in a much broader context. That is especially true in our brand new offering for this course by Wendy Whitman-Cobb called Political Science Today. So we're really excited about this new addition to the team because it's now our most mainstream offering for the Introduction to Political Science course. And more generally, it's the first new offering in the broader market for this course area in quite some time, and really is a refresh to the traditional way the course has been taught. The table of contents for the book is really the one thing that makes it the most unique because it takes a look at all of the subfields of political science and does a much better job of giving an overview of the entirety of the discipline than anything else on the market. So let's take a look at that TOC. As you can see, the book is broken into 3 parts: foundations, institutions, and subfields. Most of the other books on the market also cover the topics found in the foundations section, but Whitman-Cobb is unique in that it includes a research methods chapter so early on in the TOC. There's only one other book on the market that does this. Other books on the market also vary as to the amount of time they spend on theory. Whitman-Cobb doesn't have a ton on theory throughout, but does a good job of explaining the basics most professors want their students to be able to walk away knowing. Most books on the market also usually cover the topics in section 2, but do it in a variety of ways. Whitman-Cobb does a good job of condensing many topics different books contain several chapters on into a few briefer chapters. Only having 11 chapters makes this book on the shorter side, but much more manageable to cover in a 15-week course. And it's really that third section that is what's most unique about this text because it devotes a full chapter to the various subfields of political science and gives students a much broader understanding of political science as a whole, not just American government. Some other texts may have one chapter on IR, but none of them give the overview of the discipline as a whole, like Whitman-Cobb does. Many of the students taking this course have never been exposed to this field before, so Whitman-Cobb thought it was important to explain to them all of the facets of the discipline while they had their attention in that first political science course. They get a full chapter devoted to comparative politics, international relations, political economy, and public policy. Now let's hear from Wendy Whitman-Cobb herself on why she wrote the book in this way for students.
I really came to find that they didn't understand the field like political scientists did. And I got very frustrated with them for not understanding. And I realized it wasn't their fault. They just hadn't been taught what it is. And I really believe that if they understood all the things that you could do with political science and all the many facets of it, that they might be more excited about it, or at least more excited than they were. And so that's what really led me to work on a book like this. I never imagined myself doing a textbook, but I wanted to bring a sort of excitement about the field that I had and share it with students who might have a harder time taking to it. Much like my parents never expected me to go into politics or political science. They have no idea where this interest came from. So I wanted to kind of give that to my students.
So as Wendy mentions, this is a book for professors who want their students to learn all of the various facets of political science and get as excited about it as they do. Now that you've taken a look at the TOC, what else is special about this book? Well, that unique TOC actually makes this book very modular because each chapter can be read independently of the others, so professors can teach each topic in whichever order they prefer, which is nice for professors who don't generally teach their course in the same order as general TOCs. The book also does a great job of explaining the science of political science. This is very popular with professors because it gives legitimacy to the discipline as an actual science. You can also point to the chapter on research methods for these professors. Whitman-Cobb put the research methods chapter towards the front of the book to introduce students in a non-intimidating way to the types of research that is done in political science, so that they can build upon that knowledge throughout the course. This chapter is not a super intense deep dive into actually doing research, but is a broad overview that's very palatable for students. This book also has case studies in each chapter that put the chapter's content into context. And as we know, case studies are often popular with professors because they provide real-world examples of the topics that are being covered in class. And last but not least is the book's career focus. Not only does it have boxes which outline different careers that political science majors can go into, Wendy Whitman-Cobb is also the author of one of our career supplements for political science, which can be bundled with the book for even more content. For resources, this title does have a course pack, which is new for this course area, so we hope it's something these professors will appreciate. Most, if not all, of the professors using Pearson books have been pushed into Rebel, which they may or may not be happy about. Reach out to these professors to see how much of that technology they're actually using and if our course pack may be a better fit. There's also a standard Sage Edge site with student and instructor resources. How is Whitman-Cobb different from our other two offerings for the course? We just talked about Simon, The Challenge of Politics in January. This is a higher level book for this course with a strong focus on theory. While Whitman-Cobb offers a more modular approach, allowing for easy course customization, Simon takes a more integrative concept of political science, believing that political theory, American government, comparative politics, and international relations can and should inform each other. So a professor wanting to jump around between topics wouldn't be able to easily do that with the Simon text. Van Bell, on the other hand, is a very approachable text for students because it discusses topics using pop culture references. While this book is generally very popular with students, there are many professors who think it may be a little too pandering or may not feel like the book is rigorous enough. Whitman-Cobb should be a great middle range offering that is approachable enough for students, but has the depth and breadth of coverage that professors will like as well. Whitman-Cobb is for professors who want to get their students excited about the entire discipline of political science. It will also be popular with professors who want to teach their students about the science behind political science, as well as those who want their students to walk away knowing that if they major in political science, there's a wealth of career options awaiting them. Here's an overview of the market competition spectrum for Introduction to Political Science. Shively is the market leader and recently moved from McGraw-Hill, where it was priced over $100, to Rowman and Littlefield, who have priced it at a much more comparable $85. However, Shively does have its weaknesses. It's an 18-chapter book, which is definitely hard to cover in a 15-week course. It lacks current event coverage, which Whitman-Cobb is very strong on, especially because it's a new first edition. Shively lacks key terms and definitions, and doesn't have coverage of research methods. So long story short, we think you can win with Whitman-Cobb against Shively users. The Grigsby text also has a research methods chapter towards the beginning of the book, as well as case studies throughout, so these professors may want to take a look at Whitman-Cobb's organization as well. Also note that the Dooley text will not be revised, so you'll want to reach out to these professors and see if currency is important to them. The point here is really to show that we think Whitman-Cobb has what it takes to go head-to-head with any of these competitors up and down the spectrum. Now take a moment and pause the video. Open your blueprint document and complete the section for Introduction to Political Science. Let's move on to the Congress course. The Congress course is an upper-level elective taken mostly by political science majors. It is generally taught by a Congress scholar, so they generally have their pet topics that they like to cover. Figure out what those are so you can try and get these professors into a bundle of a couple of our books. In this course, students learn about all things Congress, the history of how our Congress came to be what it is today, what happened in the latest election, how are Congress people elected, how do they go about drafting and passing legislation, what are the various leadership roles and committees, and what does that power structure look like, etc. Davidson's Congress and its Members is the gold standard for this course. Now in its 17th edition, everyone has heard of this book and most people use it. We really just need to get the word out that this new edition has published and determine if professors would be interested in bundling the book with any of our other offerings. Don't forget to ask about bundling in the Congress course. Congress is one area where professors still tend to bundle books together depending on what topics they want to cover. So it'd be great to ask, do you integrate readings into your course? If they do, you would show Dodd Congress Reconsidered. Do they talk about congressional elections in their course? If so, you would show them Herndon Congressional Elections. And do you talk about congressional procedures? If so, you would show OLASEC, Congressional Procedures and Policy Process. So again, let's pause the recording and move over to your blueprint and fill out the section on Congress. Moving on to U.S. foreign policy. This is generally an upper-level course taken by junior and senior political science majors. These courses are generally taught by professors who specialize in the area of foreign policy. In this course, students learn about all of the various facets of American foreign policy, such as the U.S.'s current standing in the world, its decision-making dynamics, the various sources of policy and power, public opinion at home and abroad, and some of the different policy domains like defense, national security, and economics. There are two ways this course can be taught, either historically or thematically. We have books for both courses, both by author Steve Hook, but your new edition this semester is Hook's thematic book, U.S. Foreign Policy, which is the bestseller of the two. I also want to let you know that in January, we'll be publishing the new edition of Jim Scott's U.S. Foreign Policy, which we acquired from Cengage. In past editions, the book was known as the Rosati-Scott book, but going forward, Jim Scott will be the lead author of the book. If you see users of this text while reaching out to your U.S. foreign policy folks, let them know that new edition is coming. Back to Hook's U.S. foreign policy, though. This book's theme is the paradox of world power, as seen in the subtitle. This paradox is the fact that some of the same aspects of American government and society that made the United States a global power in the first place are now some of the same things that hamper its orderly and successful conduct of foreign policy. This paradox challenges U.S. leaders to overcome threats to America's world power in the face of fast-moving global developments and political upheavals at home. This book is popular with professors because of its accessible writing style and overall solid coverage of everything historically and currently in foreign policy. Steve Hook does a great job every edition of pulling in coverage of recent current events and trends in the area of foreign policy. Now let's pause the recording and move over to your blueprint to fill out the section on U.S. foreign policy. Our next course is the Middle East. This is an upper-level elective course taken by majors and taught by an expert in the area. Our offering for this course is by Ellen Lust. Her text, The Middle East, is in its 15th edition. It used to be a reference text, so it is extremely comprehensive and had gotten pretty large in past editions. This new edition has been significantly cut down and streamlined, but is definitely still a comprehensive overview of the region. The book begins with thematic chapters, followed by chapters written by an expert on that country, so it's also very well respected in the field for its accuracy. This is definitely a C-cell. If you see the course, sample Lust. Let's pause the recording and move over to your blueprint to fill out the section on the Middle East. Moving on now to public affairs. The Introduction to Public Policy course can be found as an upper-level elective in undergraduate political science courses. Additionally, public policy and policy analysis courses can also be found at the master's level, so students will be taking these courses at all levels. Policy courses are generally taught by public administration or policy experts. This semester, we have a new edition of Bardak, a practical guide for policy analysis. This is a massive book for Sage and CQ Press to the tune of a first-year BPE of 7,200 units. That's a big piece of the pie. This is a short, approachable bundle item for all Intro to Public Policy and Policy Analysis courses. This how-to 8-step process is hugely popular, and many students tend to hang on to the book to use in their careers. Professors are very loyal to this book, so we really just need to get the word out to current users that a new edition has published, as well as tell new faculty of its existence and popularity in the field. You can always name drop with this author. He's extremely well known. This book can also be bundled with any of our Introduction to Public Policy texts by Rinfrey, Kraft, and Peters. So you can always reach out to your users of those texts and try and refresh the business with a Bardak bundle. Now let's pause the recording and move over to your blueprint to fill out the section on policy analysis. We also have a new edition of Lowenthal's Intelligence for the Introduction to Intelligence course. This is another huge seller for us, selling over 5,000 units in its first year each edition. This course won't be found at every university, but there are new courses popping up all the time, and this is the go-to resource for the course. If you see the Intro to Intelligence course, sample Lowenthal and direct your professors to our intelligence landing page at cqpress.com/intelligence, where they can take a look at our whole suite of intelligence books. And with about 10 offerings, we're definitely the go-to publisher for any courses having to do with intelligence. This book will publish in October, but this is usually an easy roll without having book in hand, so we will have a transition guide ready for you to provide to users. Let's pause the recording and move over to your blueprint to fill out the section on intelligence. Okay, there are 2 course areas left that we're not going to dig into during the summer session, but we'll spend time on during the in-person session. One of these course areas is, of course, American government. But we do want to pause at this time to have you fill out the first couple of questions on your blueprint for American government and for Vantage. We want you to come prepared with your biggest opportunities in mind so we can discuss them at the in-person session. So take a moment now to pause the recording and fill out the sections for both American government and Vantage. You do not need to complete the questions marked in yellow, which you will complete during the in-person session. Political science research methods will also be covered in depth in the in-person session, but please make sure to take a moment and fill out the first couple of questions on your blueprint for this course area as well in advance of the in-person session. So again, here they are, your team of 12. We hope after this session you feel prepared to hit the ground running selling most of these titles. We will dig in even more on the 2 remaining course areas and overall strategy when we meet in Ojai. Thank you again for your attention and preliminary work on your blueprint. Don't forget to save that document to your desktop so you will be able to easily access it during the in-person session. Please also share your current progress on the document with your manager. We look forward to seeing everyone in Ojai in a couple weeks.